God, it's been pissing down with rain for about a week now, and finally the whatever low pressure has been coming over the UK has finally departed, and there's like a 5 hours of clear sky now. But it's also good because the Winter Olympics after 4 years have finally come back. I'd say they're probably my favourite Olympics actually. I think there's more kind of you can see where the sports have actually come from. I know you can see that also in the Summer Olympics, but for example like biathlon, you can actually see how that's actually developed from a real world application. Biathlon is the one where you go with your skis and you go around in a circle and then you jump on the ground and take a shot at some bottles. Well, they're not bottles, they're some kind of little targets. But with that, I mean, that's originally come from when you're out in the woods with your skis and you're out hunting, and you've often got to chase the prey or stalk the prey for several miles, so you're going to get exhausted. And then finally, when you do come down, you're going to be able to get on your stomach, slow down your breathing, steady yourself, so you can then take a pop at a reindeer or whatever you're hunting. But today was a good day because Britain got its first medal, and so did Finland as well. They actually got it in the same sport, the ladies snowboarding slopestyle. The British snowboarder, her name was, oh god, I can't even remember. I think it was Jenny Jones or something like that, and she placed first on her second run, so she was actually in first place. But then a Finnish girl from Kuusamo, Enni Rukajärvi I think it was, and she then squeezed slightly past her, so she went into first place. And well, then they were both beaten by the American girl, well, can't remember her name, but yeah, she had a really good run. I always like seeing the girls' events because they're always a lot more friendly after they finish their run, and they're waiting at the podium for who's actually going to get the medal when they're waiting for the final judges' results. And you know, even though if they beat each other in the scores or they go ahead of each other, they give each other a hug and a bit of support. And then it was really funny when they finally announced it on the podium, they all had a group hug. It's nice to see that even though the women, even though they're in competition with each other, that they there's still that camaraderie, that we're all sports people, in the boat together. And yeah, so group hug, and maybe back to the cabin by the fireside on a fur rug. But I guess in Sochi maybe everyone's gotten to know each other pretty well, because everyone's got to sit side by side like they're on a Roman shitter. But what I always admire about the Olympics is the amount of time and training that it takes to actually, the fact that you've competed for your country. I think that's the best thing you can do. But winning a medal, the amount of time, effort, as well as money that goes into it, I mean, it's quite spectacular. I think after the London Olympics they did a calculation of in terms of sports investment into sport, of how much it costs approximately for a country to gain a gold medal in an event. The average was about £1 million, or was it $1 million per medal, in terms of what had to be invested into sport within that country. So that's, I think they look at it according to how much investment is made by the Olympic Committee or the team of each country into the sport. You can see that in order to compete at that level, is that you have to have the facilities and the coaching and the investment into all that infrastructure to train your athletes. I mean, there is, of course, by nature certain people are good at certain sports, but that whole concept of nurture as well comes into it as well, that you have to be able to nurture that talent from a young age in order for it to grow. And then, of course, in order to be at the top of your game on a world stage, I mean, there's now nearly 7 billion of us, so there's a lot of competition out there. That's also part of the reason why Team GB has been doing well in the past sort of 10 years or so, is because they've been investing more into sport, and it's finally paying off that the talent is being that the talent is being nurtured in the right way. Jesus, this is so bouncy, this road. But of course there's always the argument out there that sport is often filled by children who come from more well-off families, but you can quite easily see how it happens is that if you remember from being a kid, is that in order to go and do sports, it was often your parents who had to either drive you around or take you to places where the training centers were. So, you know, behind the money that is even spent by your own country in order to train you, that there's the entire support system either from your family, your mentor, friends. And also for winter sports, I mean, it does help if you live somewhere like in Kuusamo or Saarisalka in Finland, or for the Americans it would be like in Park City in Utah, because you're spending like half your life in wintertime and you're just learning on the slopes there constantly. So it's kind of difficult. I mean, that's why it makes it the win by the British girl today is all the better, because, you know, she for someone who, I think they said she's from Bristol, so there's not exactly mountains or snow there, so, you know, that's her effort in making sure that she's able to train. And she probably spent maybe many seasons in snowy places around the world in order to actually get that, in order to improve herself and develop her talent. Of course, the big event is ice hockey, and well, we'll have to see. I mean, Russia usually, they're reasonably strong, and see if they're also playing on their own turf as well. There's that whole other incentive as well, in order to make sure that you win as you're the host city as well. Well, even if Finland don't win it, I'm sure they'll probably play Sweden at some point, and hopefully that they can beat the last time that they beat Sweden. I think it was 6-1, so if they play them again, hopefully it can be maybe like 8-1 or 8-0. Anyway, I've got to turn the camera off now because my fingertips are cold, so that means I've got to ride no-handed on the handlebars and put my hands between my legs and warm them up, among other things.